Hello.
Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, nice to talk to you. Thank you for having me on.
Well, I think that you're going to be an inspiration for many because, looking back, you had a rough start, didn't you?
Yeah, it was very interesting. I mean, at the time, I didn't see it as rough because that's all I knew.
Yeah. So take us back then to when you were young. What was life like? How did you grow up?
So I grew up on a council estate. It was pretty small, so like everybody knew each other. Everybody, like most people in the entire village, knew each other because it was like it's in a village that's like a mile-long road. There were times where we used to cause trouble with each other. There would be fighting. There would be people would fall out, and then because I was a very fast runner when I was a kid. So
it got you out of some scrapes then, did it?
It did, but then it also almost gave them like a game to play where there's like, oh, let's chase him then and see how many of us, it takes to catch him. I kind of think that upbringing gave me like an awareness to always be like looking over my shoulder, and actually did help a little bit later in life. I think in business when it came to like almost having that streetwise viewpoint of things. Like I looked at it from a 360 angle rather than just diving into something without knowing what consequences might be.
Right. And you had siblings as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I got 3 older sisters, yeah.
And did they, how was it like, was life the same for them as well?
So like there's twins, they're 14 years older than me, and then my other sister is 7 years older than me. But when I was at school, I wanted some football boots. We couldn't afford football boots, so there was some old pair of trainers that my sisters had, and they were pink. Yeah, so I didn't want it. This was when pink isn't cool. I mean, maybe today pink is cool, but at the time pink wasn't cool. So my dad, he had this bitumen, which is like a tar. Yeah. Because he was a builder. So I remember painting these pink trainers with this bitumen, so I could actually wear them for PE at school. But we were playing football in PE, so I'm kicking the ball and it's wet as well, and it kind of like started to peel off the tar. And then we were standing around in a circle, and the teacher's explaining something, and one of the other lads from the other side just started pointing at me, laughing, going, he's wearing pink trainers, and like everybody started laughing. So it's like a really embarrassing thing that I was wearing these hand-me-downs. I mean, most people from estates or like, where money's not affluent, then they have hand-me-downs, but it is normally from the same sex.
Same sex,
right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The pink trainers, I mean, that probably was a step too far for you. And how tight was money back then? Can you remember?
My dad worked, and he worked very hard, and sometimes, throughout my life, I remember when my mum was, working as well, but she didn't always work. I mean, I wasn't involved with where the money went, but it also seems to go on things. Or my dad used to go to the pub a lot, I know, so I know he would spend a lot of money there. But I do remember my mum always trying to save money. Like, she would go toilet in the dark, thinking she was saving electricity. She would even... which is funny because I just went to visit her a few days ago, and she's still doing this for some reason, which is like she washes the sandwich bags and reuses them.
That's thrifty, but sometimes thrift is good, I guess, isn't it? And did you, growing up, did you think that this was how life was always going to be, or did something inside tell you that you could change it, that you could get out of that?
I always thought I was going to be a footballer, and I think how that helped me is I just ignored the fact that working in a job that I hated, like all the stories I could see around me, like people not doing things they wanted to do, not having the ability to fix their car if something went wrong with it. Many people didn't have cars. I know my parents, like when something went wrong with a car, it was always a big disaster. My mum was always panicking that, the fridge is breaking, the washing machine is breaking, and she's like, oh, everything's going to pack up all at the same time. So she was always in this anxiety, and I kind of ignored it for a long time, thinking, by the time I get that stage, I'm going to be a footballer. But when it became apparent that I wasn't, thinking, well, you know what, it looks like, you know, I'm just going to have to get a job on a building site because that's kind of what I'm going to fall into. Because I was already going work in the summer holidays with my dad, who was, you know, in the construction, and I just thought, yeah, that's what's going to happen. You know, like when all my friends were going on the school trips, and you have to pay money to go on the school trips. I never went on a school trip just because we couldn't afford, you know, to pay it.
So when did the point come when, you know, you've had that dream shattered of being a footballer, you're doing the building work, you know, and you're thinking, right, I knew one day I was going to get out of this. When did that moment come when you thought that could be a possibility?
I think I'd installed. I tell you, actually, one of the people that my dad used to do work for, they were very wealthy. They owned like a clothing company, and they were very wealthy, and we used to do work on their house sometimes, and they had a son that was a similar age to me. So when I was really young, I would go there to work, but I would also like get to see what that side of life was like. And I think I carried that forth into then like work. Like I was so money hungry when I left school that like I would just do anything for money. And in fact, when I got to like 18 years old, I'd been in the building trade. I'd learned, you know, good trades, bricklaying, plastering, you know, the general kind of handyman builder stuff as well. I wanted to do more work because I wanted more money. My dad, he was like kind of wanted to slow down. So I actually went off on myself and at 18, it was very tough. At 18, I looked about 12 years old. So trying to get jobs by myself, saying that, yeah, I'm the person running it, they were almost thinking like, where's your dad or where's the boss? So it was really tough, but I think perseverance, I just kept going. And we used to charge like less money as well because we were young kids. I had a couple of other lads working with me. And we used to do things really quickly so we could do it for a lower price. And that's really, I think, what gave us the edge. But it wasn't about, I realized there was a point where it wasn't about the money. It was like, I got to add value to people. And I'd transitioned out. There was a crash in 2008 and like I couldn't get any work, and I'd had my first child at that point, and you know, everything was just, you know, a disaster. I'd bought a house because I'd started to make money from this business, but then I didn't have a business anymore and I was going to lose the house. So I was doing whatever it takes to make money. I went on knocking doors, you know, selling home improvement products, you know, door to door. And then I ended up in the IT industry. That's when I realized I really just got to serve people and I got to help people. And if I do a good enough job at helping people, like the money just happens. And then that's when I started to make a lot of money and you know, built, you know, a couple of businesses in that industry. You know, we were making millions of pounds. And
what did that feel like? What did that, you know, when you sat back to, you know, reflect as to where you'd come from and, you know, how you'd got there, and you're seeing this money rolling in. What is that like?
I mean, that was a few steps on, because I'd at that point I'd figured out that they would just lend me money without asking much criteria, and I found myself over a period of time I was 150 grand in debt.
Right.
So even though I started to make money, I was still in big trouble trying to get out of that. So I wasn't really sitting back thinking I'd made it at that point. I just realized that, okay, if I add value and I serve people, and then I got a passion for training people, because that was business, and that's how our businesses did so well, because I found my niche and my passion was like, let me train the people, because the better I can train the people in the business, the better the business is, the more money we make, the more people we're helping, etc. So like after I did that in a few businesses, I transitioned into property investing, and that just took off as well, because I had this mentality of like, help people. Yeah, and I come across, I mean, I've had this, you know, luxury of traveling all over the world, helping thousands of people and training thousands of people and doing business in 63 different countries all over the world in this journey now that I've been on. And, you know, I still see it today that, you know, most people, they're just heading to make that money. I've been for so many interviews and so many places where, and obviously worked on building sites where they don't treat you very well. And I realized that, like, well, actually, if I can build a business where people can use the business as a vehicle to get their goals, then they're actually going to want to go to work. So that's what we're doing now.
It is grand though, isn't it? Because when you enjoy what you do, when you enjoy your work, and when you feel appreciated, and when you feel respected, and you have a pride in what you do, you give so much more, don't you? So I do think that you get back what you give, and that they're going to work and they are happy and they're motivated as well is a very positive thing.
And that's what I wanted to create. I mean, it wasn't like clear from day one, but as it's transpired now, like that's really what I want to create. And I want to create, businesses and environments where people they just love working.
Can I come and work for you, Mark?
Sure.
No, I'm just so impressed with what you've achieved. And where do you live now? Okay, because we've heard about where you started. What are we looking at now? What type of house do you live in now?
This house is in the middle of 1,500 acres of private land. We decided that we wanted to be away from, I don't know what you want to call it, normal society, and work on our dreams and build these businesses. It's wonderful. I love it here. Lots of nature. It's a big house. I'm not really a flash kind of person. I'm not walking around wearing big shiny watches or driving £100,000 cars or anything like that. I like to keep it simple, but I do love big space. We've got 11 bedrooms here. We've got our own gym, swimming pool, sauna, big rooms for socialising, and even actually I hold some events here as well.
Right, and you've got a family as well, haven't you? And I mean, when they grow up with all of this around them, I know that you realise that to achieve, you've got to really work. Do you worry about them growing up with all of this, or do you instill in them the importance of working hard for it?
Yes, I have 4 children. The oldest one is 12, so she's starting to understand. I have one 6 and 4, and then one has just been born 7 months ago. But you're asking about if I was worried about the children, are they going to value money? I mean, it's always on my mind. I already decided that I don't, like most people, they come to us and they say, I want to build this legacy for my family. And the legacy I want to build for my family is the fact that they can see what is possible. Yeah. So, but I already have decided I'm not leaving anything to them.
Really?
I'm not going to have more my portfolio, all the properties, the hotels, the businesses. If they want it, they're going to have to be a part of the business, and they'll build it themselves, or they can go and build it by themselves if they don't want to work as a part of this brand of what we're going on. Hopefully they do and want to be a part of this mission.
And what is next? Because you've achieved so much, and people listening will think, well, he's got it all now. So when you've achieved all of that, what is left to aim for?
Well, help more people. I mean, let's look around. It's not like everybody's sitting back with their hands on the head, relaxing. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of suffering. We need support. I need support. I haven't got it all figured out. I'm still learning. I've still got a long way to go. Some people might perceive as I've got it figured out. I'm far from got it figured out. I have my ups and my downs, but I've got to keep working. I've got to keep training myself and, being coached and coaching others. And I think that's what we want to do. We just want to build a community. And in the business, our ethos is like everybody coaches each other. Yeah. And everybody trains each other. It's not like I don't want to just run everything. I want people to be able to be self-sufficient.
Well, if enough people believe in it, then it can happen, can't it? And at the end of the day, if people don't and they don't want to live like that, then that is their choice, isn't it? But listen, I think you've done incredibly well, and thank you for taking time out to talk to me, Mark.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it, and it's good to spread the love and spread the word.